Gill House, Galen, Ohio. Long before the construction of the Gill House, the Gill family had made Galen, Ohio, their home and even helped mold the town into what it is today. The original Gill family relocated to Galen occurred around 1818, beginning with David Gill and his brother-in-law, George Wood. George was a carpenter and constructed the very first schoolhouse in the town, allowing David to become the first schoolteacher. Both men played a hand in bringing an economic boom to the area right before the Civil War, convincing the town to bring the railroad through Galen. In turn, this brought more jobs and more families to settle in the community. The Gill family spread through the town and grew. The Gill house was constructed after David had passed away, unfortunately, but that could be part of the otherworldly activity which occurs in the mansion. The house David built was actually moved in order for the mansion's construction. It's possible that David was unhappy with this decision and is restless in the afterlife. Amidst young deaths, which occurred in the original house and on the property, it's no wonder that some other spirits are also said to still linger inside the old, dilapidated mansion. The past. Construction was completed on the Gill house by 1904, taking 2 years to build. The family headed by Bloomer and Nellie Gill opted to move the original Gill family home from its position and construct their own mansion in that very spot. Bloomer was the grandson of the patriarch of the Gill family in Galen, David Gill. David raised his family in the original house and Bloomer spent much of his childhood in that home. Not all memories were fond, however. While living in the original house, 2 of Gill's siblings died suddenly in the house. J. Gill was only 18 months old and died from complications of an unrecorded sickness. James Gill Jr., another of Bloomer's brothers, was killed at 17 years of age from infections and complications from falling down a flight of steps. Bloomer's mother never truly got over either of these deaths, and who can blame her? She went into a deep depression and essentially ignored Bloomer and his sister. To Bloomer, moving the old house and building in its place was a way of paying tribute to his grandfather and allowing his own children to enjoy their childhood in the same spot, but with a brand new and larger mansion. Bloomer and Nellie moved their 4 children into the large mansion based on his wealth produced from Bloomer's hardware businesses and his investment in local drug stores. With his reputation, Bloomer was invited to hold the office of secretary-treasurer in the Howard Motor Car Company, thus allowing him to extend his business ventures into a new and growing field of automobiles. One long-lived family tale is that of Bloomer befriending Henry Ford. Because of his dabbling in the manufacturing and automobile industry, Henry Ford brought the very first car through Galen to meet with Bloomer. Upon the death of former United States President Warren G. Harding, Henry Ford returned to Galen en route to the funeral. This time, however, he brought friends who visited the Gill house and Bloomer, Thomas Edison and Harvey Firestone. Bloomer and Nellie lived a long and wholesome life in the Gill house. Bloomer passed away from old age and left Nellie a widow. Their children moved away, mostly out of state, all except for Mary. She moved back home to take care of her mother until she joined Bloomer in the afterlife. Mary, divorced and childless, took sole residence in the Gill house until her own death in 1951 at the age of 63, in the same bedroom her mother passed away in. Upon Mary's death, the house sat abandoned. The only residence that occupied the mansion was a small homeless population that vandalized and left the Gill house in ruins. Luckily, the Historical Heritage Group of Preserving Gallian History, LLC, purchased the property and mansion. The non-profit organization has been slowly restoring the mansion ever since. The Historic Preservation Fund and renovations are still underway today in order to save the long and priceless history of the Gill house. Paranormal experiences. There have been numerous reports ever since the new Gill house was constructed over the original house. When they were young, the children of Bloomer and Nellie had claimed to see and hear children running and playing. This was just shrugged off as overactive imaginations, until Nellie too experienced a little boy running on the second floor and giggling as he ran down the hallway. After she explained the image to Bloomer, the description reminded him of stories of his deceased young brother, Jay, who had died at only 18 months old. As the family grew older, these memories faded and didn't recur often, outside of the random dream one of the children would experience. However, after the house was abandoned and the destitute migrants made their way in, rumors circulated of random lights and voices echoing through the house. This occurred so often that some of the homeless actually left the comfort of the large mansion. After the Historic Society purchased the property and began renovating, they too experienced phantom voices and footsteps. The ownership group would get phone calls in the middle of the night from the local police explaining that they had been called to the property to investigate lights turning on and off inside. They were afraid of vandals, but there was never anything out of place or forced entry. Locals who pass by the mansion at night have also seen these lights. Some visitors, either on tours or paranormal investigations, have claimed to see a young girl in a white nightgown. It is unclear who this little girl may be, but rumors claim that some who experience her also hear the name of Mary as if the elderly woman returned to her childhood home in a pure child form. On the first floor, electronics are reported to malfunction and fail temporarily, only to return to their full power after the guest has gone upstairs or outside. As some believe, this is David or Bloomer protecting their home from intruders, expending all of their energy to let guests know that they are present and still watching over their homes. Investigation. Around 6 p.m. we managed to make our way through town and find our way to the driveway behind the Gill house and right next to the original Gill home, which was moved. We had a great tour guide in Mary and Tom. They told us stories of personal experiences and showed us some incredible historical photographs of the families and the home. Brian later relieved them of their duties and shared even more historical facts with us. We began setting up cameras and equipment around 7 p.m. and began our investigation right around 8 o'clock p.m. We were given permission to stay until about 2 a.m. but wrapped up around 1:30 a.m. to clean up and ensure we were out the door on time. During the investigation, we were joined by Cindy, a medium, and her assistant, Roger. We utilized nearly all of our equipment throughout the evening. We had 4 hardwired cameras set up to our monitoring system, 1 stationary camera, 1 handheld camera, 1 K2 meter, 1 SB7 spirit box, 1 Ovilus, 2 REM pods, 1 recorder, 1 FLIR thermal camera, 2 IR lights, 1 temperature gauge, 1 EMF pump, 1 Phasma box, and 1 laser grid pen. Throughout our evening, we experienced moments of paranormal activity, even during our setup. There were changes in the air of the rooms after we had toured, odd noises sounding like children humming in the basement as we set up. And utilizing both the Phasma box and spirit box during our investigation, we captured plenty of communication. During one moment in particular on the 2nd floor in Eva's room, we captured a thermal video of what appeared to be someone, or something, peeking its head in and out as we attempted to communicate with Eva. We spotted shadows moving in our peripheral vision and light anomalies flashing across cameras throughout the evening, in particular, when the flashlights would light up seemingly on their own or the REM pods would activate. We recorded some names during our investigation. At one moment in the attic, we felt as though we were being laughed at and mimicked by children. The most active locations were the 2nd floor in Eva's room, the master bedroom, the basement, and the attic. We received clear communication in all of these locations via the Phasma box and the spirit box. Light anomalies appeared on the 2nd floor as we attempted to communicate through flashlight and REM pod sessions. Lights would appear over top of the devices as they turned on, then left them as they turned off. While in Eva's room we captured what appeared to be REM pod activity. However, we think there was a breeze which was setting it off. After we moved the REM pod outside of the breezeway, it appeared to be alerted again, even after we tested it for a breeze. After we reviewed the evidence from our overnight paranormal investigation of the Gill house in Galion, Ohio, we can positively conclude that the mansion is indeed a host to many spirits throughout the house and the property. Some of our experiences produced names while others helped explain the lifestyles of the family and the personalities of others, even if they weren't necessarily family members. The thermal imaging camera helped us capture possibly some of our best evidence with a head peeking around the corner in Eva's room and a head and shoulders in the basement. The most active locations in the Gill house would include the 2nd floor in Eva's room and the master bedroom, the basement, and the attic. The basement and each gave us a plethora of different energies and experiences. The 2nd floor gave off different feelings of both welcoming and inviting where the spirits wanted to communicate, but also on the flip side, after wearing out our welcome, we seemed to feel more negative energy wanted us to leave. The basement was an odd combination where it felt as if someone was hiding in the corner, as we also captured a thermal photo there, almost watching over whoever was communicating with us in the center of the room. The attic was much more of a playful and cheerful feel. It definitely felt as if children were still playing up there and even wanted us to join in. There are so many different energies and activities in the Gill house that seem to be stuck here, like children of the Gills returning in their purest form to employees of the mansion when they still had butlers and working hands, and even to the family, including that of the next generation owners, with the mother-in-law Eva still residing in her place of death. The darkness also seems to be hidden here in the form of some type of controlling energy and even someone trying to keep secrets hidden even in the afterlife. Regardless of the type of hauntings experienced, it's safe to say that the Gill house is the final resting place and still home to quite a variety of spirits throughout both the gorgeous mansion and its surrounding property.